everyone, it's Cindy and welcome back to the channel. Today I am building an evergreen harbor in the Pinecrest Apartments. This is apartment number 404 and this is a rather special build because this week it was my birthday and so I used myself as inspiration for this apartment and I have focused on a lot of the things that I really love, both my favorite objects in the game and also things in my personal life that I really love. So, as you saw from the title, this is an apartment that is intended to be for a very crafty sim who has a cat, is also very much into plants. I'm going to warn you, there are going to be a lot of plants in this build. And the interior design is a very kind of traditional feminine decor and color palette, but of course, this could be for any type of sim. So, a couple of things just to note here. First of all, here where I'm placing this bag and the letter holder, I have had to move that. When I was playtesting, I discovered that it was blocking Sim's entrance into and out of the apartment, so that was clearly an issue. So I have moved it. If you download it from the gallery, just be aware that the version on the gallery is fully functional. And if you do wish to download this from the gallery, you can find it using my EA ID, which is Hygge Haven, HYGGEHAVEN. And it is also available under the same hashtag, hashtag Hygge Haven. So we are working on the kitchen. Actually, the kitchen is mostly done. I've talked through most of the kitchen, but that's fine. That's okay. I have included in the kitchen a tea maker because I am a tea drinker, and there's a minimal amount of clutter. You'll see here that I'm adding some clutter in. I love to put clutter in my Sims builds, but the irony is that I don't like clutter in real life in my own spaces. So I've sort of reflected that here in the build. There's probably more clutter than I would typically want in my place, but you have to find a balance somewhere. So I've added this cute little floating shelf with some plants on it, and I've put a little bit of clutter there. And oh my goodness, this dish rack and the pet treats and the dishes kind of broke my brain. I really wanted to include all of them, and it just wasn't happening. So I move them around a whole bunch, and then I delete them, and then I bring some of them back, and then I delete them. In the end, they all disappear, and it's probably for the best. And so, yeah, just finishing off, rearranging the clutter area and just adding a couple things to the table here. And I will go back in just a moment and add in this tapestry that I love in game, but I hardly ever use it, maybe because the colors are so bold, which I love, but again, it can be difficult to work into some color palettes. But here, this one, that is my favorite colorway of it, but I really like this one that I chose that goes a little bit better with the kitchen. So we're moving on to the bathroom. There's not a whole lot that is interesting in the bathroom. So let me tell you a little bit more about this build. So in Evergreen Harbor, these Pinecrest apartments, and I think the other apartments, they're both built on the diagonal, which isn't a problem when you are playing the game normally and furnishing just like I am here. But one of the things that I decided when I started this build was that I wanted to use the modern development cheat, which I have done before I started building, and that's what gives the really beautiful modern eco lifestyle windows and doors, and the windows particularly that have this really deep windowsill because I am a plant mom in real life and I have plants everywhere in my house. I really, really wanted to put a whole bunch of plants in those really deep windowsills. But because the apartment is technically on the diagonal to the game grid in the world, it's a little bit tricky, and technically, most of those windowsills are outside of the playable bounds of the game. So you have to use a tool in order to place anything on them. So when we get into the bedroom and into the craft room, you're going to see that I'm using tool to place the plants, but I love how it turned out. So here we are in the bedroom as promised, and again, I'm using a lot of my favorite objects in the game. I love this bed from high school years. Honestly, all the beds that we got in high school years are honestly fire, but this bed in particular, I just absolutely love. I also love that clothing rail, and this stack of suitcases has always been one of my absolute favorite end tables in the game. And I know I've just put that really quirky giraffe light on the nightstand, but it has always been one of my favorites in the game as well. It's weird, but I love it. And I also put the rolled up yoga mat and the kettlebell from Everyday Clutter sort of tucked into the clothing shelves. I have place tested it and it does work. So your Sims can still use that as a functioning wardrobe. So don't worry about that. So yeah, just adding in some of my favorite pictures. I absolutely love this wall collage with the plants. I want this in real life. Honestly, Sims, somebody come and build this for me in my place because I need that in my real life. So here we are cluttering up the first of the windowsills. If you want to do this in your own game, once you've selected the objects using Tool and gone into the Move option, you need to set for an X and Y axis, X of 0.4 and Y of negative 0.5. And that should shift the plants into the proper place in the windowsill. I also like to use the red shelf, even though you can use Tool to elevate or lower objects. I just find the red shelf is a little bit easier and quicker just to get the plants up to the right height before you move them. Anyway, that is the bedroom done, and we've moved now into the living room. You can see here that I've started with this little desk area. Again, another desk from high school years, and I'm adding a little bit of clutter to it. Again, maybe more than I would ideally like in my real life, but you know, this is Sims and things tend to look a little barren if you don't have a little bit of clutter in it. I'm also going to add above the desk in the windowsill above it some more plants here. Now, while the plants that I've put on the windowsills in the bedroom and later in the craft room, if you download this from the gallery, they will not be included. The game doesn't save those because, again, they're a bit out of bounds. And the same here with the balcony that I'm cluttering up. And I'm placing objects here again using Tool because, again, it is out of bounds. But these out of bounds sections of the build will not be included in the gallery download, unfortunately. But I like to keep it in the video anyway because maybe it gives you some inspiration for what you can do in your game if you also have Tool. So yeah, the bedroom and the craft room plants on the windowsills, they unfortunately won't be included in the build if you download it from the gallery. But the plants that I'm putting on the windowsill here in the living room above the desk, they are still technically within bounds. So I don't have to use Tool in order to add these, as you can see here. And if you do download this build from the gallery, those will remain. So that's quite fun. You get a little bit of it if you want to download it and include it in your game. So here I'm just adding in my absolute favorite TV stand. I love this old trunk, and I have been dying to use the Paranormal Stuffed Pack sofa for ages. I love the pillows on it and the Afghan kind of thrown across it. I feel like maybe that is something that I would have made in real life and have on my sofa. I always have one of the quilts that I've made on my real life sofa, so it reminded me of that. And again, here with the rug at the door, it reminds me of something that I would have maybe crocheted for myself and had in my flat. And it's at this point that I realize I was intending to add a cat to this space, and so far I had not added any cat items. So I do add those in here. You can see I've put in a litter box and a dish and a scratching post, and we will put a cat tree out on the balcony later. So, moving into the craft room, yes, I am a crafty kind of person. I have grown up around sewing and quilting. My mom did those while I was young, and I now also do those. But of course, we don't really have sewing in the game. We did in Sims, was it 2 or 3? But we only have the knitting and the cross stitch. So, that is what I have included here because they are also textile arts. So, if you have any Sims move in here, they can also learn to knit and crochet, no, knit and cross stitch, and they've got a cute little room to do it in. And of course, if you're not having a crafty sim, then this could easily be a second bedroom or turn it into a larger home office or, whatever you want. Home gym, maybe. So yeah, just placing around some extra items that we also got from the high school years kit with the little craft supplies. And of course, I've pulled out from Debug all these really cute pre-made knitted items as well. I think it turned out really cute. I would love personally to have a crafty space like this. Unfortunately, I don't have an extra bedroom that I can dedicate to a purely craft room, but this is kind of the dream as far as I'm concerned. I also added in a wall shelf over on the right hand side here, and I totally forgot to put anything in it. So you won't see it in the video here or in the screenshots, but before I uploaded it to the gallery, I did go in and add in a cute little ginger colored cat statue because I do have a cat. Her name is Greta, and she is ginger, and she's absolutely the most adorable little snuggle bug in the world. And so I had to include her in the apartment in some way. I also forgot to add in curtains in the living room when I was doing that, so you'll see I've added those in here along with the curtains in the craft room. And here are the plants in the craft room windowsill, including this cute little cat planter. So we're just adding those in. I'm also going to add in a cat bed here, and here we pop in the cat tree out on the balcony. And we shift a few things around so we can get everything to fit. But if you enjoyed this build, please do give it a thumbs up and why not subscribe to the channel? And if you click the bell, you'll be notified of new uploads as they become available. That's mostly it for the build. It's just a little bit of tweaking, and I added my bicycle out at the front here as well. Thank you so much for watching. I will leave you with the screenshots and have a lovely day.